Hello everybody, I hope all is well. Today I'd like to go over another scientific proof of how we know that the Torah is not a man-made document like people say, but actually that the Torah is given by the creator of the universe, God himself. So, we said before in the previous proofs, that a book which contains information that no man could have known at the time it was written is a book which is probably from the creator of the universe, from God. So, we did astronomy proofs before, now we're on zoology proofs. Proofs that are related to animals. So the Torah tells us that when it comes to eating meat, there are certain criteria in order for an animal to be kosher. The animal must have two signs. It has to chew its cud and has to have completely split hooves. And the verse in the Torah, in Leviticus chapter 11, verse 1 to 8, tells us that God spoke to Moses and Aaron, saying to them, "Speak to the children of Israel, speak to the Jews, saying, these are the creatures that you may eat from, all the land animals, and any animal that has a split hoof, which is completely separated into double hoofs, and that chews its cud." So God tells Moses that you got to tell the Jews that if they want to eat meat, it's fine, you're allowed to eat meat, but make sure the animal that you want to eat has the two kosher signs, split hoofs and chew its cud. Now so right here, kosher animals is the animal that chews its cud and have split hoofs. So for example, a cow, a goat, a sheep. So chew its cud. So what does that mean, chew its cud? So chew its cud basically means that the animal, right, has another, like, let's say stomach, and that when the animal chews its food, it has the ability to send up the food back to its mouth and chew it again. And you see cows doing that all the time because they eat grass and stuff. So that's what chewing its cud means. So it swallows the food, it eats it, it digests it, goes through the stomachs, and it brings it back up and chews it again. That's called chewing its cud. And the second thing that an animal needs to have to be kosher is split hooves, but completely split hooves, right? That's what the Torah says. So we see that's why is a cow kosher, because it has a completely split hooves and it chews its cud. So now the Torah then goes on to say that the pig, it has split hooves, but the Torah says that the pig, for its hoof is split and its hoof is completely separated. So not only does a pig have split the hooves, but it's completely separated like a cow's, but it does not chew its cud. So therefore it's unclean to you. You shall not eat of it and even touch its dead carcass. Why? Because it's unclean for you. So the Torah basically tells us that you're not allowed to eat pig. Why? Why you're not allowed to eat pig? The pig has because the pig only has one of the kosher signs. It doesn't have both. The pig says, yeah, I have completely split hooves, but it doesn't chew its cud. That's why the Torah forbids the pig. But by the way, when we go back to this, the Torah tells us that there must be other animals that also have the same category, that have split hooves but doesn't chew its cud. But the Torah tells us that the pig is the only animal in the entire world that has completely split hooves and doesn't chew its cud, right? So now, that's what the Torah says by only listing the pig. Now, if you go to the oral Torah, right, the Talmud Bavli, Chulin 59a, the Talmud then quotes a verse and tells us that if a man is walking and he finds an animal, and where the animal's face or mouth is severely damaged, let's say it's cut off, you can't see the animal's face, you're walking in the middle of a forest, and you see an animal, and you don't see its face, and you see split hooves, but you can't see the face, whether or not, you don't know what type of animal it is, but you see it has split hooves. So, and therefore, since you can't see its face, you don't know if the animal chews its cud or not. And now you want to know if the animal is kosher, and you check and it has split hooves. So if the man finds the animal, are you allowed to eat the animal or not? If I go in the forest and I see an animal and it has split hooves, but the face is cut off, so maybe it chews its cud, maybe it doesn't. What does the Torah tell us? The Torah tells us as long as you know this animal is not a pig, right? As long as you know it's not a pig, you're allowed. You could assume that the animal is a kosher animal. And to put the words exactly as it says, if the man finds that the animal has split hooves, he can use the animal as long as he knows for certain that it's not a pig. Why? The Gemara then goes on to tell us, because the pig is the only animal in the entire world that has split hooves and doesn't chew its cud. Now, why is it okay? So what's the big deal about that? So what? So the pig is the only animal that has split hoof and doesn't chew cud. Why is that a big deal? So let's take it back a little bit. So when did the Torah say this? By the way, Sefer Vayikra right here, Leviticus chapter 11 verse 1 to 8. The Torah tells us this about 3,300 years ago. That's when the Torah was written. Now we know today that there are over 8.7 million species of animals, right? You could a simple Google check. Now, 8.7 different million species in existence. Again, there could be more than that, but it doesn't matter. That's a lot. Now, we also know that there are over billions of animals that are currently living in the world right now. For example, there are about 24 billion chickens currently living in the world right now. And again, this is just one species of animal. We said here that there are 8.7 million species, and just one species, there's about 24 billion of just one of the species, right? With that being said, there must be trillions and trillions, maybe billions or trillions of animals in the world. Now, it seems that whoever wrote this in the Torah must have known all the animals that lived on the earth. Because the Torah makes a claim that the pig is the only animal in the world. But how can you make such a claim? Did you examine the eternal anatomy of 8.7 million different species to exclude them all? I mean, we know that the person, let's say a human being wrote the Torah, the person who wrote the Torah was living in the Middle East. Did this person go all over the world? Did he go to North America? Did he go to South America? Did he go to Antarctica? Did he go all over the world to check all the animals? Because there's some animals that live in America but don't live in Israel, right, where the Torah was written. So with that being said, and again, there's billions of species. I don't think it's possible for a person to go and examine the internal anatomy of all these creatures to see if they actually chew its cud and have split hooves. Yet the Torah tells us that no, the pig is the only animal in the world that has completely split hooves and doesn't chew its cud. And guess what? Everyone is still searching for that second animal, and they still haven't found it. Do you think they're going to find it? Again, this is another scientific proof of how we know the Torah is from God, because there's no way a human being living 2,000 years ago living 3,300 years ago can make such a claim that this is the pig is the only, again, with such confidence. Like the Torah is not even saying like maybe. The Torah says it black on white that the pig is the only animal that has split hooves and doesn't chew its cud. So again, this is another scientific proof that there's no way a human being could make such a claim. Only the creator of the universe knows every single species, and to make that such a claim, you have to know all the species that live in the world. And again, they still haven't found the animal that has split hooves and doesn't chew its cud. Do you think they're going to find it? Again, scientific proof that the Torah is from God. Thank you for listening.